The scream tore through the air like a jagged blade, sharp and raw, slicing through the hum of the crowded Bayside Galleria. Shoppers froze mid-step, their chatter dissolving into a tense hush. At the heart of the commotion, near the glittering atrium fountain, a woman clutched a stroller, her face drained of color, her voice cracking as she shouted, "She's not breathing. Somebody please." A circle of onlookers formed, their murmurs swelling into a chaotic buzz, but no one moved closer except for one figure cutting through the crowd with unwavering purpose. Lena Harper, flanked by her Vyc dog Kodiak, didn't hesitate. Kodiak's amber eyes locked onto the stroller, his body taut with focus, pulling Lena forward as if guided by an invisible force. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Lena had navigated this mall countless times, her steps deliberate, her senses tuned to avoid the triggers that could unravel her. The Bayside Galleria was a sensory minefield, flashing holiday lights, the cloying scent of cinnamon pretzels, the relentless chatter of 1,000 voices ricocheting off polished marble. For most, it was just another Saturday. For Lena, it was a battlefield. 5 years ago, she'd been Sergeant Lena Harper, a trauma nurse with the 101st Airborne, piecing soldiers back together under fire in Syria. She'd earned the nickname Steel for her unshakable calm, even when shrapnel rained and blood soaked the sand. But a suicide bomber in Aleppo had changed everything. The blast stole her left arm below the elbow, left her with a traumatic brain injury, and etched in visible scars PTSD that turned grocery stores into war zones and sudden noises into ambushes. Kodiak, a sleek German shepherd with a black and tan coat and a red Ser Vyc vest, had been her lifeline since the VA paired them 3 years ago. He wasn't just a dog. He was a biological marvel, trained to detect the faintest chemical shifts in Lena's body changes that signaled an impending panic attack or, worse, a rare seizure. His nose could pick up what no machine could, the microscopic precursors to disaster. Kodiak had washed out a police K-9 unit for being too soft, a trait that made him perfect for Lena. He didn't just alert to her symptoms. He anticipated them, nudging her to safety before she even knew she needed it. Today, though, his focus wasn't on her. They'd come to the mall for a quick errand, new hiking boots for Lena's upcoming trip, and a cookbook for her brother's birthday. Lena had timed it carefully, 1:30 p.m., after the lunch rush but before the evening swarm. The holiday season was in full swing, with oversized ornaments dangling from the ceiling and a synthetic spruce scent clinging to the air. A jazzy version of Silver Bells drifted from hidden speakers, barely audible over the squeak of stroller wheels and the hum of escalators. Lena kept Kodiak close, her right hand resting on his harness, not for balance, but for grounding. The prosthetic on her left arm was state-of-the-art, but it couldn't feel the warmth of his fur or the steady rhythm of his steps. Still, Kodiak's presence was enough to keep her centered. They were weaving through the central atrium when Kodiak's demeanor shifted. His ears flicked forward, his gait faltered, and his head snapped toward a stroller parked near a bench. A woman in her late 20s, with auburn hair tied in a loose ponytail, was rifling through a diaper bag, oblivious to the crowd. The stroller's occupant, a baby, presumably was hidden beneath a pale green blanket dotted with tiny giraffes. Lena noticed Kodiak's change instantly. After years together, she could read him like a book. "What's up, boy?" she whispered, scanning for threats. A loud laugh from a nearby food cart? A spilled coffee cup? Nothing obvious. Kodiak took a step toward the stroller, breaking his perfect heel position rarity for a dog whose discipline rivaled a drill sergeant's. "Kodiak, heel," Lena said, her voice firm but low. He obeyed, but his eyes stayed glued to the stroller, and a low whine rumbled at his throat. Lena's pulse quickened. Kodiak didn't whine. Not in public. Not ever. She tugged his harness gently, redirecting him toward the sporting goods store, but he resisted, planting his paws and staring at the stroller with an intensity that sent a chill down her spine. "Is your dog okay?" the woman asked, glancing up from her bag. Her tone was polite but edged with irritation. as if Kodiak's focus was a personal affront. "He's fine," Lena started, but before she could explain, Kodiak barked a sharp, commanding sound that echoed off the atrium's glass ceiling. Heads turned. A teenage couple paused their selfie session, and an elderly man with a cane shot Lena a disapproved VYing look. Sarah VYC dogs weren't supposed to bark. They were supposed to be in VY Cybele, blending into the background like well-trained ghosts. Lena felt heat creep up her neck. "Kodiak, settle," she commanded, but he barked again, louder, his body straining toward the stroller. "You need to control him," the woman said, standing now, her hands on her hips. "You're going to wake my son." But the baby hadn't stirred. Not a cry, not a twitch, despite Kodiak's barks ringing through the atrium. Lena's training kicked in years as a nurse, years in war zones where instincts meant serve VY Val. Infants didn't sleep through noise like that. Not unless something was wrong. "Ma'am," she said, keeping her voice steady. "I think Kodiak's trying to tell us something. He's trained to detect medical emergencies." The woman's eyes narrowed. "He's scaring people. Sarah VYC dogs don't act like this." Before Lena could respond, 2 security guards approached, their navy uniforms crisp against the mall's pastel decor. The taller one, a broad-shouldered man with a buzz cut and a badge reading Martinez, spoke first. "Ma'am, we've had reports of a disruptive animal. Is there a problem?" Kodiak barked again, a 3-bark sequence Lena recognized as his medical alert pattern. He sat rigidly, pawing the ground, his focus unwavering. Lena's heart pounded, but not from anxiety, this was certainty. Kodiak was never wrong. "My dog's alerting," she said, her voice carrying the authority of her old military days. "He's medically trained to detect emergencies. Something's wrong with that baby." The second guard, a woman with sharp cheekbones and a badge reading Ellis, glanced at the stroller. "Ma'am," she said to the mother, "would you mind checking on your child? Just to be safe." "This is absurd," the woman snapped, folding her arms. "Ethan's fine. He's been napping for maybe 20 minutes. I know if something was wrong." "Ma'am," Lena said, stepping closer, her prosthetic arm gesturing slightly. "Kodiak doesn't alert unless it's serious. He could detect things we can't, like chemical changes in the body. Please just check." The mother hesitated, her confidence wavering as Kodiak's barks grew more insistent. A small crowd had gathered, their whispers forming a low hum. "Maybe she's right," a man in a flannel shirt muttered. "Better safe than sorry." "Fine," the woman said, her voice tight. She leaned over the stroller and peeled back the giraffe blanket. Her gasp shattered the tension like glass. "Ethan," she cried, her hands trembling as she touched the baby's face. "He's not waking up." The crowd's murmurs turned to gasps. Lena moved forward instinctively, her nurse's training overriding everything else. "I'm a former trauma nurse," she said, addressing the mother, whose name she later learned was Claire Evans. "Can I help until paramedics arrive?" Claire nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Please, just help him." Lena knelt beside the stroller, Kodiak at her side, now silent but watchful. Ethan, a boy no older than 6 months, lay unnaturally still. His lips were tinged blue, his breathing shallow and irregular. Lena checked his pulse, weak but present. "He's breathing, but it's not good," she said. "Pulse is slow. Has he been sick? Any conditions?" "No," Claire sobbed. "He was fine this morning. He had a checkup. Last week everything was normal." Martinez was already on his radio, calling for medical assistance. Ellis cleared a path as mall medics arrived, followed closely by paramedics with a pediatric gurney. A gray-haired man pushed through the crowd, his voice calm but urgent. "I'm Dr. Nathan Cole, pediatric neurologist. May I assist?" With Claire's permission, Dr. Cole examined Ethan, his fingers swift and precise. "Pupils are sluggish but reactive," he murmured. "No fever. This looks neurological, possibly a seizure state." He glanced at Lena. "How long has he been like this?" "I don't know," Claire said, her voice breaking. "He fell asleep while I was shopping. I thought he was just tired." Kodiak shifted, his nose twitching toward Claire's diaper bag, slung over the stroller's handle. Lena caught the momentous subtle alert, different from his earlier one. "Ma'am," she said carefully, "Kodiak's reacting to your bag. Would you mind if we check it?" Claire nodded, too distraught to question. Martinez retrieved the bag, and Kodiak zeroed in on a zippered pocket, pawing it gently. Inside was a small bottle labeled infant ibuprofen, its seal broken, the liquid cloudy. "That's not mine," Claire said, her eyes wide. "I never used that brand." The lead paramedic, a wiry man named Torres, secured the bottle in an EVY Denke bag. "We'll test it at the hospital," he said. "Could be contaminated." He turned to Ethan, attaching a tiny oxygen mask. "O2 sats are low possible absent seizures. We need to move." As the paramedics prepared to transport Ethan, Dr. Cole approached Lena. "Your dog's remarkable," he said. "I've read about medical alert dogs detecting seizures or diabetic crises, but this? He caught something I couldn't see from 10 feet away. He's trained to smell what we can't," Lena said, scratching Kodiak's ears. "Chemicals, hormones, things that change when the body's in trouble." Claire, clutching Ethan's tiny hand as the gurney rolled away, turned to Lena. "I yelled at you," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. If you hadn't pushed." "Thank Kodiak," Lena said softly. "He knew." The atrium became a crime scene. Police cordoned off the area, and a detective named Sandra Liu took Lena's statement. "So Kodiak alerted to the baby first, then the bag?" she asked, scribbling notes. "Yes," Lena said. "He's trained to differentiate. The baby was a medical alert 3 barks, pawing the ground. The bag was a substance alert nose to the pocket, single paw tap." Lou raised an eyebrow. "You're saying he smelled something specific in that bottle?" "I'd bet my life on it," Lena said. "He's never wrong." The bottle's contents later tested positive for a sedative not meant for infants, a drug that could suppress breathing in high doses. Claire's ex-husband, recently denied custody, became a person of interest after security footage showed him near the stroller earlier that day. Ethan stabilized at the hospital, his condition caught just in time to prevent permanent damage. The news spread like wildfire, with headlines praising Kodiak, the miracle dog. Lena and Kodiak left the mall as the sun dipped below the horizon. The adrenaline crash Leah V.Y.ing her shaky but resolute. She knelt beside her car, prosthetic arm resting on Kodiak's back. "You save a life today, buddy," she whispered. He pressed his forehead to hers, a ritual that grounded them both. Her phone buzzed a text from her VA therapist. "Her about the mall. You and Kodiak okay? Call if you need to talk." Lena smiled faintly. The media would come calling soon, and the thought of cameras made her stomach twist. But if sharing Kodiak's story could show the world what Ser VYC dogs could do not just for their handlers, but for strangers in danger, maybe it was worth it. Kodiak settled into the back seat, his eyes meeting hers in the rear VYEW mirror. "Trust your dog," they told her in training. Today, that trust had turned a routine errand into a miracle. And as Lena drove home, the weight of the day settled into something new: pride. For Kodiak. For herself. For the bond that had saved a life when no one else could.